This podcast is brought to you by Most Valuable Podcasts, leading the league in podcasting entertainment.
What's going on, real MVPs? Welcome into another episode of What's Your Fantasy. We missed last week, but we're back this week. And now the episodes match up. And the episodes in the weeks.
Yeah.
It's week 11. It's episode 11. We did that on purpose, obviously. So we did that for you. We did that mainly for us, so we wouldn't be so confused. Actually, no, schedule just didn't work out last week, and we were unable to do it. But we're back this week talking about another week in the NFL, and it's always an exciting week in the NFL.
The big question is, ¿Dónde estás, Todd Gurley?
Yes.
Or ¿Dónde está Todd Gurley?
¿Dónde está?
I think it would be está.
¿Dónde
¿Dónde
está?
está Todd Gurley?
Todd
Where
Gurley.
is he? Because he's only got we don't need it, but we only got 3.8 points from Todd Gurley. Is Sean McVay just trying to make a statement now? He's trying to make a statement at this point in the year? Biggest game of the entire year, and he's like, I'm going to make it. He's Bill Belichick in it. I'm going to make a statement. You're going to sit.
He's trying to sit him. Just sitting him to show him, hey, Todd, it's not always about you. I don't know.
And what I love is on Twitter, everyone is just like, hey, ESPN announcers, how about you fucking say if he's injured or not, huh? How about you say that he hasn't played? Because everyone's going nuts that Todd Gurley hasn't played.
Yeah, Joe Tessitore obviously does not care. No. He doesn't care about your fantasy team or Todd Gurley.
It's like Maurice Jones-Drew. He don't give a shit.
Well, before we dive into today, if you want to support this podcast or other podcasts, make sure you head to patreon.com, become a patron, and you can do that for just $1 a month. Or if you want to come on a podcast, you can do it for $10 a month. So what are you smiling about? You're excited over there for something.
Dave texted me some WWE thing.
Oh, that's non-exciting.
That you would not care
Totally
about.
not exciting. Who gives a crap? So if you want to support the podcast, definitely do that. $1 a month, $10 a month gets you on a podcast. Head over to mostvaluablepodcast.com and you can get an MVP t-shirt. Dave Oster is displaying it not so nicely there for you. And
we got a little bit of a model rivalry between you and him. Maybe we should have a, like...
What model rivalry? I don't think I've ever modeled anything.
No, I'm saying, like, you want to be, like... You're saying that he's not as good as the model, that you could do a better job as the model.
I think we could all do a better job as the model and find a woman to do it for us.
Well, it's not a woman's shirt.
That's on us. That's on us for not making it that way.
If we had a lady shirt, obviously we'd have a lady model.
We should have a lady shirt, though.
I think it's a unisex shirt, actually.
Well, you can't tell me these things and then take it back.
But you know what I mean? Like, usually on stores, they've got, for the regular T-shirt, they have the guy, and for the ladies' cut, they got the lady. Well, obviously, I'm not wearing a ladies' cut shirt on the website. I probably couldn't even get it on my left arm.
No, probably not. Mm-hmm. But here's the whole thing, is that I'm always just joshing.
Oh, I know.
I really don't care. I don't want to be the model.
I was going to say we should have like a America's Top Model contest between you and Dave to see who should be the T-shirt model for the website.
Oh man, I don't
have a Speedo contest.
No, that's okay.
A talent contest. Basically, go Miss America to see who could be the model for the MVP T-shirt. Between you and Dave. Ugh. I've taken myself out of the running. I don't think Sean or Mark want it. I don't think Johnny wants it. No.
You don't want it?
No, I'm good. My face is everywhere else. It don't need to be there.
All right. I guess
my face is everywhere.
I guess we'll let you off the hook. Well, we've rambled on way too much. You can also go to iTunes and check us out there as well. But now let's get into the meat and potatoes of this show.
We're going to be eating a lot of meat and potatoes today.
We're going to be doing it on Thursday. We're going to be doing it on Thursday for sure. But Ricky, as I always do, I'm going to hand it over to you. How do we do this week? And what's the analysis?
I mean, Saquon Barkley. We got Saquon Barkley. Just put it that way. We made a trade this week. Don't know how it happened, but it happened where I can't even remember what team offered it to us. I got to look back.
I don't know, but some team who really wanted us to be better.
It was New York Thick and Trunky. So Andy Gonzalez, I got to do a special thank you to Andy Gonzalez because the trade that went through this week.
Yeah, Andy, you the man.
Could not believe it. So Andy wanted Cole Beasley and Lamar Miller, and he gave us Saquon Barkley and Christian Kirk. Thank you, Andy, because Saquon Barkley got us 35.2 points. We are up 126.5 to 116.4. Anything that Todd Gurley does today is just icing on the cake, Brandon, and we are going to win. We are going to go to 7-4 on the year, and that is a big, big win because if I look at it right now, some interesting teams. Jake right now is winning. He's above us. If you look at it, Kyle is now winning. He's above us. So the two guys above us, they are going to go ahead and get a win. Next week, our regular season ends, and we're playing the Chi-Town Kanyes, who they will get a win. They will be a week.
The Chi-Town
Kanyes, which is Dallas's team. We play him next week. He's the leader of the other division. But you look at it, some key teams. New York thick and trunky, which I'm concerned why he traded a Saquon because he's 5-5. He's a game behind us, looking to get into the playoffs. You got Team Riley. He's going to lose. He played Jake, so we're going to now be 2 games above him. We don't have to worry about him as we are locking in the 4th and final playoff spot. You've got $sign Darnold's. We're going to be 2 games ahead of them, so knocking them out of the playoff hunt. And really the only team we got to worry about for next week looks like that's going to be hide and Zeke. So as long as we can either get a win against Dallas next week, or if Andrew Lane, who's 3-7, can find a way to beat Austin, who's hide and Zeke, we should be a playoff team. It should be Jake, Kyle, Dallas, and I, not in that order, but us 4 should be the playoff teams as we go into the last week of the season this upcoming week.
Well, I really hope that we end up being a playoff team because I know if we're not, I'll blame you.
Yeah, naturally.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to internally look at myself. I'd obviously have to blame you.
And if we do win this week, the team that it's important a lot of ways around because for us, we win, we're in. We lose, Austin's got to lose as well. But if we win, then really if Jake wins, he then takes over the number 1 spot. Chi-Town Kanyes go to 2, and then we'll play Jake instead of Dallas. So we got to win to get in. And if we win, we will most likely be playing Jake in the first round of the playoffs.
Nothing like a good win and in scenario. I love that.
That's basically it. And with Saquon, I mean, anything's possible, man. I'm feeling a lot more confident that we have Saquon.
Yes.
But
how could you not?
But the one thing I will say, this was Dallas's lineup this week, just so you know who we're going up against coming into this week. He's got Russell Wilson. He's got Joe Mixon, James Conner, and Julio Jones. Robert Woods, Keenan Allen, Travis Kelce, the Cowboys D, and Harrison Butker. That was his starting lineup this week.
That's a great
team. And
on
his bench, he's got Deion Lewis, Sony Michel, Keenan Cole, TJ Yeldon, Joe Wacko Flacco, the Patriots D, and Adam Humphries.
Well,
that's his team.
Here's the thing, though, is that he cannot go to his bench because that bench is not good.
Yeah. So,
that bench is not good.
He might go to waivers, but I'm hoping I'm hoping Todd Gurley actually plays next week, and we can get 28 out of him, 35 out of Saquon, and everything else is gravy.
Well, Ricky,
maybe Adam Thielen gets up to form again.
You have painted out the beautiful scenario.
I Bob Rossed it.
I
painted the picture.
I like it. Let's hope that happens. Let's hope that happens.
Win and we're in, baby. Win and we're in.
That's all we got to do. That's all we got to do.
Watch, we'll lose.
Yeah, let's not talk about that. Anyways, so let's get into what we really want to talk about today. Kind of the main topic in the show today, and it's quarterbacks. And Ricky, is this league about to be changed at the quarterback position with Lamar Jackson coming in? He ran the football 28 times yesterday, 27, 28 times yesterday. He's the quarterback. He ran it 27, 28 times. He did what he knows how to do. He runs. That was him a lot in college. Obviously, great arm, great ability to throw the ball, but he loves to run. And he was able to run all over yesterday on Cincinnati. First of all, on this first quarterback, we're looking at Lamar Jackson. Looks like he is absolutely going to be the future in Baltimore. We may not see Joe Flacco play another game for the Baltimore Ravens, and we really may not. That is a very serious and honest statement. What are your thoughts on Lamar Jackson after 1 week?
After 1 week, I'm not totally against him, but to me, it's interesting quarterback-wise because there are obviously some quarterbacks, Patrick Mahomes, Drew Brees, maybe even like a Tom Brady, that if you have them, go ahead and start them. There's no way that you're not going to start them. But like Lamar Jackson, I almost thought about picking him up for me because Mitch Trubisky, he's my quarterback. If you're got a guy like Mitch, he's going up against a team like Minnesota, who's a formidable defense, you might look at it and go, hey, let me try to pick the matchup. And the thing with Lamar Jackson that is going to be intriguing moving forward is he also got rushing yards. He had 100 yards on the ground, which added up to most of his points because he had through the air 150, didn't get into the end zone either passing or rushing, which would have helped him through an interception. But he's a guy that got rushing yards as well. And the thing that I think helps him is if he can get into the end zone on the ground, fantasy-wise, depending on the league you're in, most leagues, that's going to be better because that means 6 points compared to only 4. Like in our league, the personal MVP league that we're in with like Dave and Sean and Mark, 6 points on the ground, 4 through the air. So if I have a quarterback that can get in on the ground more than he gets in through the air, that could actually benefit me and help me because I'm getting 2 additional points per touchdown compared to the guys who are just getting it through the air.
Yeah, that's also the thing.
But is he going to get into the end zone? Because he did.
That's true, but at the same time, that's where you look at a guy like a Cam Newton, or even this year really coming onto the scene, Mitch Trubisky. He has gotten a number of yards on the ground in the game against the New England Patriots, where he really struggled a good part of that game for through the passing game. He thrived on the ground.
Yeah.
He was picking up tons of yards. I think 80-some yards in that game just on the ground. He got a couple of touchdowns. I mean, it's better. Like you have mentioned, it's better to score on the ground than through the air passing, or either way, with yards or a touchdown, because it's going to be less than the yards that you would be able to pick up on the ground. So as a quarterback and as someone who owns a quarterback like that, you're excited about that because you think, okay, if especially Lamar Jackson, if he gets really comfortable with passing the football, which this is kind of what we saw with Mitch Trubisky, he was able to throw it a little bit. It's not something that the Ravens are saying you're only able to throw it a little bit, but I think really easing him into that game a little bit from the passing side, certainly not from the running aspect of it, but what's he going to be able to do? That kind of makes it exciting. What's he going to be able to do in the passing game? You don't know yet. You haven't seen it. This past week isn't what he's going to do. He can be a really good passer. We saw it in college. We know that he can. So when he's putting up numbers there, and then you said as well on the ground, you're adding up a lot of points really quickly. He could be someone who's very, very dangerous in the fantasy world.
I'm going to throw out another one. And this is a guy, depending on when you're seeing this. So this goes up on the 20th is when this goes up on YouTube and such. And depending on when your trade deadline is, a guy that I would trade for, and I've actually thought about it, although I got to work with Mark and I have traded before, but trades in our league usually never happen. And the one guy I'm looking at is either if you have him, hang on to him, unless you have like a Patrick Mahomes, but a guy that you should look at maybe trading for, Andrew Luck. I saw something ridiculous today that Adam Schefter put out there that it was I either saw it from Adam Schefter or I saw it from one of our loyal listeners at Shane O'Mac on Twitter, Shane. Andrew Luck has not been sacked in 5 straight games. 5 straight games hasn't been sacked. You look at his past, I don't know, since week 4, 35, 22, 22, 22, 23, 21, 23. This is a guy, put him in, he's good. Put him in, he's golden. The Frank Reich system, whatever Ballard and Frank Reich have set up in Indy, it is working fantasy-wise for Andrew Luck. He has had, since week 4, either 3 or 4 touchdowns in every single game. Every single game. He's had at least 3 or 4. And you look at it, he's going up against Miami this week, Jacksonville the week after. They've been down this year. Hell, he had 3 touchdowns against Jacksonville before. Houston, who he's already had 4 touchdowns against this year. Dallas, they're not the best defense. They're improved, but they're not the best. Then you've got New York. Look at what they have been. And then Tennessee, a team that he just threw for almost 300 yards and 3 touchdowns against. I don't see this guy slowing up. And if you need a solid quarterback for the playoffs, go after Andrew Luck.
Andrew Luck is somebody that is really good. He's been outstanding this season. I was really skeptical of him
at the beginning of the year.
Last year, and certainly at the beginning of this year. Skeptical last year because I didn't know if he'd ever even be able to come back to football the way that they were talking about things. And then at the beginning of this year, if he'd ever be able to come back right and be what he was before. Well, he's not what he was before. He's like 10 times better. Ricky, the only problem is I don't know if he's going to be available. So I don't know if he's going to be available. I picked him up. I picked him up in our personal league, the one that you were talking about before. I picked him up a couple of weeks ago, and I've had him in there ever since. Where I played, I think Aaron Rodgers maybe this past week because I wasn't sure with the matchup with the Titans, but that turned out to not even be a matchup with the Titans. But I don't even know if he'd be available in a lot of leagues.
I want to ask you this right now. Okay. Would you be interested in a trade for Andrew Luck? And I will give you Juju and Latavius Murray for Andrew Luck.
No, I don't need wide receivers. I need running back.
Well, that would be Latavius. Otherwise, I can give you...
Yeah, no.
So I'll give you a running back and a wideout, just for the quarterback.
I don't want Latavius Murray.
Would you want... I don't know if I want it. Would you take Mark Ingram for Andrew Luck straight up?
I don't know. I'm winning right now. It'd be different if I was losing.
This is going forward, though. And you're not even using Andrew Luck.
I have been for most of the weeks.
I mean, you can get Mark Ingram. He's been good.
I'll
offer it. I'll offer it.
Okay.
I'll go ahead. I didn't notice that you were the one that had him, and I've kind of really want Andrew Luck.
Yeah. Yeah.
And our trade deadline is actually Wednesday, so you better think about that quick.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, Andrew Luck is a guy that I really want.
Okay. Well, we'll see if you get him or not.
Is this the second time I've offered you a trade on the podcast?
Yes.
Or we've talked about a trade on the podcast?
Yes.
You got 3 quarters. You even got Deshaun Watson. You've got Aaron Rodgers, Deshaun Watson, and Andrew Luck. What are you hoarding all these quarterbacks for, man?
Well, because one of them was on a bye at one point.
Deshaun Watson's not been that great.
And because Aaron Rodgers was struggling, Deshaun Watson was starting to kind of come off from where he had been earlier in the season, and Andrew Luck was out there on the waiver wire, and no one had gotten him. So I thought, come on over to my team, buddy.
Oh, no, I know what you're talking about. I'll offer that, though. I'll offer it.
Okay. So, moving on to the next quarterback. Tragic scene in Washington over the weekend. Terrible. Really, really bad to see. And,
do you want to know the most eerie thing about it?
It was 33 years to the day of Joe Theismann's injury.
Not just that. 33 years to the day. They play for the same team. The end score, the exact same in both games. 23-21.
Wow.
The exact same score.
I've got a trivia question here for you. I heard it on the radio this morning. Mm-hmm. What is the movie that the clip of Joe Theismann's injury is played at the beginning of this movie? Stars Sandra Bullock.
Blindside.
You got it.
Well, you said Sandra Bullock.
Yeah, I know. I didn't want to say it, but I said it, and it was easy for me. It was certainly easy for you.
I was like, is it a kid's movie? Is it a...
Yeah.
Was it like a Little Giants movie? Was it like a Blindside movie? But
I think that's the first time I've thrown a trivia at you.
Yeah.
And see, my trivia are easy. My trivia are actually answers you know.
No, I like the obscure.
As opposed to...
I like the...
Brandon, do you know what I had for lunch earlier today? You were there. I wasn't.
I love the obscure, like, Aflac trivia that they give you on the Saturday football games that no one knows unless you look at your phone.
Yeah.
But like, the thing with Alex Smith, though, fantasy-wise...
So Alex Smith is gone. I didn't even get to the rest of that. Alex Smith is gone. And now it's Colt McCoy. How does this change things for the quarterback position there? Are you going and getting McCoy? Is it going to change any differently? And are you dropping any of the guys that you may have had? Does this hurt Adrian Peterson?
No, this might help Adrian Peterson.
Are you sure?
Give or take, it might give him more carries.
Are they putting a lot more guys in the box? Are they stacking the box knowing, okay, they're just going to really try and run? Or what do you do? What do you do? Washington's usually a team I just stay away from all their fantasy
If
players.
I have one of their wide receivers, I'm thinking about getting a different guy. But Adrian Peterson, it could be a double-edged sword. We got to wait on Adrian Peterson because, you're right. They might say, hey, let's just put 9 in the box and let Colt McCoy try to beat us. But if Adrian Peterson, like, this year's been a better year for him, if he continues that, I'm not necessarily going to bet against Adrian Peterson. I think he'll be fine. But if I have Washington wide receivers or receivers in general, counting the tight ends, I might be a little scared now because you no longer have Alex Smith throwing to them. You've got Colt McCoy now. You've got Colt McCoy throwing to him. So it's like, I mean, and really they haven't really, to me, been doing great. Like Josh Doxson only had 6.2 points this week. I know the last 2 weeks before that, he had 12 and 14, but that's because he had his first 2 touchdowns of the year. You also had the same thing with Maurice Harris, where look at this game. Alex Smith comes out. He only has 1 catch. He only has 2.3 fantasy points in that game. Michael Floyd, only a catch this past game. You look at Brian Quick, didn't even get any. You're
listing all these wide receivers that are just so horrible.
I am. And it's
on Washington. I wouldn't even have him if Alex Smith was healthy.
And even Jordan Reed this past week, Jordan Reed might be the only guy to go ahead and grab because actually, you know what? Jordan Reed, he's the only receiver I would keep because it seems like Colt McCoy wanted to throw to him. 7 catches, 71 yards, a touchdown, had his most points of all season, his most points since week 1. He's had his first touchdown since week 1. So maybe Colt McCoy is going to lean heavily on Jordan Reed, and maybe he's the one you look at moving forward from this receiving core to actually have with Colt McCoy out there.
Yeah, the only really one that I would see that I would even maybe necessarily want to have on my team would be Jordan Reed. Mm-hmm. That's the only one, and that's the only one who still might be serviceable with Colt McCoy there. The rest of those wide receivers, it's not going to be, I don't think, anyone consistent going forward. I think it's going to be, they're going to kind of, throw together a couple of guys in a pot and say, okay, hopefully we can, get some points, and it's going to be like a lot of Cole Beasleys out there. I mean, that's what it's going to be. It's going to be a lot of like Cole Beasley type players where, you get a couple, you might get a couple, but you might only get a couple this week. You might get nothing this week. So that's the problem, I think, there in Washington,
and
too.
Adrian Peterson did get into the end zone twice.
They have so many injuries.
Yeah, they've got a ton. But, you look at Adrian Peterson. He got into the end zone twice. What if they lean on him and Jordan Reed? So, really, Adrian Peterson and Jordan Reed are the only ones that I would keep if I'm on Washington. Wouldn't even go after the Sanchez and Colt McCoy. They forget that they have quarterbacks because it's going to be useless fantasy to me.
Ricky, there's another quarterback scenario,
and
it's going on in a tumultuous land of the Buccaneers, and it's Ryan Fitzpatrick. Well, wait, no, Jameis Winston. Wait, Fitzpatrick. Nope, Jameis. So the question is there a quarterback that you can actually stick with going forward the rest of this year? And then the second question to that is, do you even want Jameis Winston for the future? Is he going to be on the Buccaneers? Where's he going to be? Is he going to be worth anything?
This next week, I'm going to put a maybe to it. because they are playing San Fran, but yet again, it's Jameis Winston, so you never know. I mean, looking forward, no, because depends on your league, but like for ours, after this week, we're in the playoffs. So after this week, you've got Jameis Winston, Carolina, I don't want him against Carolina. New Orleans, I don't want him against New Orleans. And then he's got Baltimore, Dallas, and Atlanta, but if I can't get through those first two, I'm not going to need him for those last three because I'm going to lose in my first playoff round. So, I mean, that's the big one. 13-14, which will, in most leagues, be the first playoff round, the conjoint weeks of that round. I would stay away from Jameis Winston. And, well, Ryan Fitzpatrick is different because I think he's a little bit better, but I would still stay away from both of them because Carolina and New Orleans are better defenses, and I don't think you're going to get the fantasy points you want out of them against those two teams in your playoff round where all points are crucial for the playoffs.
I don't think that you can. I don't think that you can trust either of them. Mm-hmm. I don't think you could trust Fitzpatrick. I don't think that you could trust Jameis Winston, and you also cannot trust which one is going to start the game and then actually finish it. That's also been the problem, is that you don't even know what game it could be. Any random one. Who thought that Ryan Fitzpatrick would throw 3 interceptions, no touchdowns, and that Jameis would come in the third and finish the game? Mm-hmm. I don't think probably too many people believed that was going to be happening. So that's also a problem. But now the second question, is Jameis somebody that you would even want to have on your team come next year? Like if you're in a dynasty league, if you're in some sort of keeper league,
I don't know if he's even going to be on the Buccaneers next year.
Is that a guy that you even want to hold on to next year? Even if he's not on the Buccaneers, would it be better to hold on to him if he's not on the Buccaneers?
Yeah, I wouldn't. I wouldn't, but to be honest, I'm not really a Jameis Winston supporter. I'm not really a Jameis Winston fan.
No, I know you're not.
I think there's guys out there that you can go ahead and get. I would rather have Lamar Jackson than Jameis Winston. I'd rather have Dak Prescott than Jameis Winston. And I know Dak Prescott, the week against Tennessee and this week against Atlanta, only 14.8. But if he has a game like he had against Philly where he had 21 points, he's got that potential. And he's only owned in 45% of leagues. Another guy that's kind of like the Andrew Luck side that isn't as many points but is around the same. If you really need a quarterback, let's say you had an Alex Smith, let's say you're in the Aaron Rodgers camp and you're like, I got 21 this week, but what am I going to get next week? Or like me with Mitch, where it's like, yeah, Mitch is great, but if Mitch plays a tough defense, what's he going to be like with that young offense? Russell Wilson's a guy I look at ever since week 5. Ever since that game, week 4 against the Cardinals, he's had at least 19 fantasy points and basically was like 19.9, 20 point this. And he's been around that 19 to 20. He had the 26-pointer against the Rams, and he's going to have a schedule that in the playoffs, yeah, he plays Minnesota week 14, but week 13, week 15, he's got San Fran, both of those. So, like, those are prime games where you can play him that one, maybe have a quarterback for that Minnesota week that he might have lower points. Then if you're in the championship, boom, you've got him for another San Fran game.
No, I think you're right. I think that a lot of it also comes down to the matchups and who's going to have the better matchup on the given week. That's how a lot of people play fantasy football. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong. A lot of people play it based off the matchups.
That's how I do it with the defenses.
And that's a lot of what people do with defenses. A lot of what people do with defenses, and actually a lot of what people do with kickers as well.
Yeah.
This will be an okay one for this. But
usually it's better to take the kicker that's going to kick a lot more field goals than the one that's going to be kicking just extra points.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. That's why for a long time, it was Steven Gostkowski was great to have because he was a Patriot guy. They scored a lot, but how many field goal chances did he get? Not a whole lot. He'd have 7 extra points, but no field goal. But,
by the way,
go ahead.
Bringing up kickers, can I rant for 2 seconds?
Sure.
Cody Parkey, what the fuck is up with you? I'm sorry for the swearing, but what the hell is up with Cody Parkey? I have him on my team, misses left and right, can't even find his way out of the stadium, can't even find the door, runs into the wall. I drop him, I pick up a different kicker because, he's garbage. makes everything against the Vikings. Like, Cody Parkey, I don't like you this week. That's my rant. Like, had him on my team, couldn't make a damn field goal. Got him off my team, and he made every single one. It's like, what's going on, Cody Parkey? So that's my rant for the week.
Well, you had to imagine that a week after him doinking it 4 times, and I was at that game, by the way.
Pissed.
I was at that game, by the way. Not one person in the stadium believed that he could miss it a 4th time for the doink. We didn't believe he could miss it a second. We certainly didn't believe he could do it a 3rd. But we were actually just in awe. We thought it was an art on the 4th. We thought he was just playing with us. But you know, he had to bounce back the next week. You had to have known that.
I went back to Dan Bailey. The only reason I went to Cody Parkey was Dan Bailey was on the bye. And then I was like, well, I'm going to go back to Dan Bailey. And Dan Bailey had a clunker this week. I was so upset. So upset.
Dan Bailey had 2 field goals.
Yeah, but it wasn't. Like, I'm mainly mad because Mitch Trubisky. Like, when Mitch does bad, I lose.
Ricky's not mad at poor Dan Bailey. He's mad at everyone else.
Mitch, come on. Like, you're my team, man. That's why my team is called Kissing Titties. But it's besides the point.
Ricky, any other thoughts with quarterbacks before we move on?
No, I mean, if you're a guy that's got maybe like a Mitch Trubisky, if you've got an Aaron Rodgers, if you got a Deshaun Watson, maybe you go ahead and look at a guy like trading for an Andrew Luck, trading for a Russell Wilson, especially if you're one of these guys that are on a playoff team that could need them come playoff time, especially Andrew Luck. You should take Mark Ingram for Andrew Luck, by the way. You should make that trade because it would benefit both of us.
Yeah.
As you need a running back, and I could really use Andrew Luck. I need a solid quarterback.
Do you want Aaron Rodgers?
No, I'll take Andrew Luck. I'll take him off your hand. Mark Ingram's a good man, good back, man. He's better than the backs you've got. Coleman and Mixon.
I like Mixon.
Yeah, but Mark Ingram,
Coleman's,
you could put him in as that flex
rough.
spot. 22 points this week, man. Would have really helped you out.
I won.
I know, but
Without
you could have won by more. And you're going to be playing Dave next week, and Dave likes to score points recently.
His players aren't injured anymore?
No, they're not. By the way, about Dave, he sent a text to our group this week, was like, Alex Smith and Big Ben, just want to let you know they're not on my team.
And Cam Newton.
It was Cam and Alex Smith. Cam and Alex Smith, not on my team. Just letting you know it's not my fault that they got injured.
I was surprised. I was really surprised.
Usually when an injury happens, I check and be like, are they on Dave's team? Yep, they're on Dave's team.
So moving on to the next part of the show. So it's always that part where we talk about the guys who we watched this past week and who we really like. We think you could go get off the waiver wire and who you should definitely be playing next week. And then we talk about the guys who are like, no. We're going to be dropping him off our team, or we're keeping him right on the waiver wire where he belongs. Ricky, who was it for you this week?
Oh, I already said it. It's Andrew Luck. Like, Andrew Luck, if he's on your team, play him. Play him and do not sit him, because he is a fantasy goldmine right now, and he's a guy that can get you 20, 22 points just by rolling out of bed in the morning. Whatever Frank Reich is doing in Indy, it's working, because Andrew Luck is staying on his feet, and it's mucho fantasy points for his owners.
Mucho
fantasy points.
And who was someone who you didn't like?
A guy that I didn't like this week, mainly I'm going to go with my own team, and a guy that I'm very skeptical of moving forward is Juju Smith. And the reason why is if you look at his past few games, and I know with me, I am not PPR in the league that I have him in, so that's a bit of a change, but he seems very dependent on either if he's going to get 100 yards. So, like, there was a game against Cincy, 111 yards, got me 13 points. It was beautiful. But then there's a game where against Cleveland, only got about 3 points or 7 in a PPR, but then against Carolina, he gets a touchdown, gets 16. So how touchdown dependent is Juju Smith? And if you have him, I know a lot of people are like, oh, he's a solid wide receiver too. For me, he might be falling to that solid flex or a questionable flex because of how touchdown dependent he may be.
A guy who I really like this week and who I would go and get off the waiver wire if you can is DJ Moore from Carolina. He absolutely broke out, had an outstanding game, over 150 yards and a touchdown. Was certainly in the game against the Lions, even though they lost. He was looking to be Cam Newton's main number one go-to wide receiver. Certainly someone, if you can go and snag him off that waiver wire, I'd be picking up DJ Moore. And then someone who I looked at now, this is for back-to-back weeks.
Yeah.
Where I'm looking at them and just saying, no, you've got to go. You've got to go, because they've been sitting on my team now for 2 weeks, and I've played them for 2 weeks, and they have not done it. They do well on the waiver wire, and they come on my team, and they do nothing. And that is Marquez Valdez-Scantling from Green Bay. He has been such a clunker, a dud for sure. I am putting him right back on the waiver wire.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
What do you think about Traquan Smith? He's a guy that, for the Saints, week 9 against the Rams, 2 catches, 23 yards, a touchdown. In PPR, got 10.3 points. Then the next week against Cincy, didn't get a single target, got 0 points. This past week, 10 receptions, 157 yards, 8 tutty, 31.7 points. Stay away, get him and put him on your bench, or put him in your lineup.
If you're able to put him on your bench without
he's only owned in 13% of leagues.
Without taking up a spot for someone else that you might really need, if you're able to put him on the bench and you don't need that spot for anyone else, I would do it. But there's always, with the Saints, it's always who's going to go off this week, and it always seems to be somebody different.
The week before was Michael Thomas,
and I almost always assume it's going to be Michael Thomas.
Yeah.
So that's the really difficult part. But I think that he's proven enough in the last couple of weeks that he can certainly be good, and that he's someone that Drew Brees trusts and will target.
Also, another guy that I'll ask you about is, how about Gus Edwards for the Baltimore Ravens? Do you pick him up? He had 19.5 in PPR this week.
I don't trust many people from Baltimore.
Is it a Lamar Jackson thing? How the team works with Lamar benefits Gus Edwards, or did you just have a good week?
Honestly, who the hell is Gus Edwards? I mean, that was my question when all of a sudden he came from. They had his stats up, and I'm like, who's that? Who's that guy? And that's truly what I was thinking. I really had no idea who he was. But the problem is that for the most part, for coming into this season, it was supposed to be Alex Collins, because Alex Collins finished out the year last year really strong, and he's gonna be the bell cow. If Alex Collins is the bell cow, then I'm the GM of the Chicago Bears. And since I'm not, neither is he. So that's also been the problem, is he's not getting the carries that he's supposedly supposed to be getting, and he's not getting the touchdowns all the time that he's supposed to be getting. He'll come in at the beginning, he'll start, he'll get a touchdown early, and he'll all of a sudden go and disappear, go sit back on the bus, and watch the game from there. Gus Edwards, I can't trust that he's going to be the guy going forward. Can't trust him. Can't trust him.
Just one guy that, another question of, do you pick him up, do you not pick him up? I personally would stay away from him because it was just 1 week. Let's see 2 weeks how he does, but at that point, someone might have already picked him up.
I would 100% completely agree. Ricky, any other thoughts? Anything else that you'd like to add here at the end?
Watch this. This is what's gonna happen this week. If I make the trade with you and I start Andrew Luck, one thing I noticed, Mitch Trubisky might have a big game this week. He's going up against Detroit, where he had 35 points 2 weeks ago. And
we will certainly let you know next week if we made the deal.
Or if I started Mitch. Because I might still start Mitch with Andrew Luck and regret that decision, because Mitch has screwed me in some games this year.
So you're just going to sit him? I'm going to sit you this week because I'm mad at you. You might score me 30, but I'm mad at you.
Yeah, but then I'm Bill Belichick, and I don't like losing Super Bowls, Brandon. I don't like losing Super Bowls. But I like points, so I don't know. We'll see.
We will. We'll see. But that was your final comment?
Yeah, that was my final comment. That's all I got.
Well, before we go, I would be doing a disservice to you if I didn't tell you the final housekeeping things.
Huge disservice.
Huge.
A huge disservice.
Huge disservice.
A bigly disservice. Sounded like it. I rewatched that this week, and I swear it sounds like he tried to say big league, like big league, and just it came out sounding like bigly. Trump, man. You never know what you're going to get.
You're a rude, disgraceful man, Jim Acosta.
Wrong.
Sit down. I hate you. Go back to your napping area because you're a little child. Anyways, it's just funny. It's just funny to go and speak in the Trump voice. It's funny.
You know,
anytime.
You know, my mom brought up today.
What?
She's like, well, he didn't. The biggest knock against him is he hasn't delivered on his biggest campaign promise. No.
Yeah.
Hillary's not in jail.
No.
That was one of his biggest.
The biggest campaign promise was the wall, and he's not there yet to a lot of people's satisfaction.
I don't think that's going to happen.
So, well, enough of that. We don't want to dive too far in there. But again, thank you so much, everyone, for watching. Make sure you go to patreon.com and become a patron. You can do that for just $1 a month or $10 a month. We'll get you on a podcast. You can come on here, What's Your Fantasy, talk with Ricky Widmer and myself. Brandon Swanson. I don't think I actually ever introduced us at the beginning, so here we are. And I don't actually think I introduced us in the beginning, Ricky.
We got the little thing that comes down.
Yeah, well, there you go. They already know who we are by this point, except for the people who just come in every week and go, hey, the guy on the left, the guy on the right. They do that all the time. But definitely make sure that you become a supporter. You can come on here, like I said. You can go on another podcast on MVP as well. Check out mostvaluablepodcast.com for an MVP t-shirt and get one of those nice t-shirts, something good to wear as you're working out or walking throughout the mall. People are going to be coming up to you wondering, what are you wearing? You can tell them all about it and get them hooked on it as well. And then head over to iTunes and give us that 5-star rating if you think that we are deserving of it, and leave a comment. We would certainly appreciate it. So that's going to do it. That's going to wrap it up, Ricky, for Week 11.
Todd Gurley, 6 carries.
Yeah, I know. I see it right here. 6 carries, 21 yards. I'm trying not to look at it because it's very bad. But that's going to wrap it up for us. Week 11 here on the show, and it's going to be Week 12. Here in the NFL. No, this is going to be Week 11. No, next week is Week 12. I'm all confused now, Ricky. I'm all confused. I'm just going to end it. I'm just going to end it right here. Thank you again so much for watching, everybody. For Ricky Widmer, I'm Brandon Swanson saying so long and enjoy Week 11. I think. 12. Right. No, it's Week 12. Next week is Week 12 in the NFL. It's Week 12. It's Week 12. Ricky's going to check, but it's Week 12. I'm sorry. I'm out. Week 12. So long.